Good morning, it is Jane with Scraptastic Yarns, and today is Tuesday the 9th. It's been a week, guys. A really strong week. Okay, first off, I'm going to go ahead and give you the update on the husband. Tuesday morning, my husband was very lightheaded, came downstairs, and he thinks he passed out, but he's not positive if he did or not. I think he did because stuff was all over the kitchen. I heard him. Sounded funny. I was upstairs getting dressed, and I do believe he probably passed out. He was having shortness of breath. Checked his blood pressure, and his blood pressure was pretty low. And blood sugar, all that fun stuff, And I had suggested to him, maybe we need to go to the emergency room. I called an ambulance. No, he didn't want to do that, so we farted around all day long. And about 10 o'clock at night, he got extremely dizzy again and even had more trouble breathing. So, called an ambulance, took him to the hospital about 10 o'clock at night, like I said. Get in there, and they're telling him that he's hyperventilating. They do blood work, and they're telling him his temp was 100.4, that most likely he had some kind of blood infection. So we were going on that assumption. Of course, in the meantime, they'd ordered chest x-rays, and because the nurse had heard something she thought that needed to be further evaluated. So they did do that, and from there they ordered a CAT scan and ABGs and the whole 9 yards. Found out that he'd had a mild heart attack, but on top of that they found that he had some pulmonary embolisms as well as a suprapulmonary emboli. Which, for those of you that don't know, most people don't survive that. It is also called a widowmaker's clot, and doctor was real surprised on how he even survived that. So then we began a round of trying to get a hospital to take him. A lot of them didn't want to take him because of where it was at, how big it was. It was massive. And of course, my husband heard he had a massive heart attack and some blood clots in his lung. No, honey, you had a mild heart attack and you have a massive clot, and it's not in a good place. So, in the meantime, it took us about 3.5 hours to finally get the Williamsport doctor to take him with a line of therapy that someone else had suggested at one of the specialist things. So in the meantime, he got transferred to ICU by ambulance. They had contemplated about whether taking him by air, but they determined that because of the pressures of the altitude, that clot could go. So they took him by ambulance. Got him into the ICU. Now, I didn't follow him to the hospital that night because I hadn't had any sleep since Monday. So I came home and got about an hour and a half of sleep, and then went up to the hospital to be with him and see what was going on. In the meantime, they did ultrasound of his legs, ultrasound of his heart. They found something in one of the lower ventricles. I believe it was the right one, is what the doctor told me, which kind of went along with the blood clot and everything else. So, of course, got a couple of days stay in the ICU. Then Friday, he was put on some oral medications, Eliquis, after they'd done the heparin drip and everything, and Saturday afternoon he was tolerating it and the low pressure well, so he got to come home Saturday evening. And of course, this is chemo week, so we went in for his chemo. One of the chemos they were going to start was Avastin, which the side effects are heart attack, blood clots, stroke, you know. So what they determined that they were going to do was basically they weren't going to give him the Avastin. They were not going to give him one other component of the chemotherapy because his white count was a little low, and he also had not had time really to recover well from what was going on. So the doctor decided that they would do something different than what was the normal next round of chemotherapy. So he changed some things up, and of course then the pharmacy had a hissy fit about it because why are we doing this but not giving the other? So had to have a conference with the doctor, go on about that. But this time, since he didn't have to have the first portion of the chemotherapy, which takes about 2 hours to load in after 30 minutes of giving you prednisone so that reactions are less. Since he didn't have that, we were home early. Yay! So both of us got a little nap. And that's kind of where it stands right now. We are due to get our second COVID shot this evening. And we're hoping things will go well and things will perk up. And like I told him, I said to God, no more shenanigans. Let's give it a rest for about a month, and then you can start up with all your scaring me to death and that kind of stuff. So, but I do want to say this. I want to thank every one of you for all the prayers, good thoughts, healing thoughts, because they work. Okay. I have a few acquisitions besides the knit crate, which finally came in, February's. But first I thought I would show you the labels that I've gone through for the month of January and February. It equals about 9,400 yards so far. And of course, this month in March, I have 2 labels. So, slowing down a little bit, how that goes. Okay, knit crate. This is this month's knit crate. And this is Audine wool. Well, it's not this month's. This month's is on its way. Even though I put skip, still they charged and it's coming, which really ticks me off. And I thought about just calling the bank, having the bank deal with it as fraud, but okay, whatever. This is Audine wools in the colorway Epiphany in their Calm base. It is 80% wool, 10% silk, 10% mohair. It is a DK weight, 100 grams, 231 yards, hand wash gently, lay flat to dry. It's not really not scarfable, but I kind of wouldn't choose it, for me, to make a scarf, but, whatever. And the needle size you would use is between a 5.7 US or 3.75, 4.5 milliliters. IV fluids on the brain. Millimeters. And the hook size is a 7 to an I, which is a 9, 4.5 to 5.5 millimeters. And those, of course, you get 2 for the regular knit crate. And yes, it is that beautiful. Stunning. And of course, that's the item you are supposed to make for this month. It is a twist cowl. It's called an overnight twist cowl. So, I really don't know if I'm going to do that, but hey, maybe. Now the other thing I ordered from Randi, Ramblin' Randy's Random, the 3 R's, R cubed. Randi, I can never get your name straight for your channel, but I'll link it down below, of course. She had some bags she put up. Now this bag, this particular fabric, I bought back when COVID first hit. And I had planned on making me a bag. Never got to it. Quite a few of the nurses with the Heart Institute and a couple of nurses I was making masks for requested this fabric. So I never got to make me a mask, and I only have like a little square, little rectangle left that can make a rectangle mask. So I jumped on it the minute I saw it, and it is the Koi cats. And who doesn't need another bag? Come on now. And of course it's got the red lining in it, and our Ann Sear handmade label in there. And Randi, I'm loving this. I'm using it quite a bit. That's it for acquisitions. As you know, I am following the Scorched Earth Challenge, and I'm going to put the video here. Scorched Earth. Those 3 bags were actually 3 totes full of yarn that have come here to the church. And then there's some of the extra of the bulky that I brought in. They don't use it, it'll get cold and moved on. But yeah, this is the 4th load total. I've actually donated 4 full bags this week. And Wednesday the girls met and took a bunch. Took that whole bag that I brought in the Wednesday. So that's it for this portion of the Scorched Earth. You know, part of it was use it, give it away, whatever. And there it goes for good use. You know, who can use it better than the bear shawl? Alright, see you guys again soon. Bye. Alright, look, you can see my horn coming up. I am sitting upstairs in the bedroom because my husband is downstairs with a faculty meeting via Zoom. And I needed to get this filmed. His knee joints are bothering him today, so I just decided to come on up here, get it filmed. I have a fan going because it's hotter than blazes in here. We're supposed to get up to like 59 degrees today after being in the 20s, and you know, so I'm sweltering. I am almost finished with my wrap. Of course, there are those colors going this way, and from my progress keeper I need 9 inches. I have about 4 to go, I think 3.5 to go, something like that, before that is finished. Now this month I also got the Annie's Afghan, the plumberry. I'm doing the plumberry Afghan, and I know there was a lot of problems about the people thinking you only get a striped Dana of Wonderlust crochet. Thought you only got 3 rows. No, you get 3 stripes each month, and it's a pretty hefty price. It's like $24.95 or $24.97 by the time you get shipping and all that fun stuff in there. But it comes you get 3 premier skeins of yarn, the anti-pilling skein, to go with that. And of course, 2 of the colors are no longer available to purchase separately at Premier's website. So I'm sure they were a discontinued color that's put into this afghan. And this is where I was at the last month. I have gone ahead and done the stripes, and it's not too bad. There's a little bit of a texture here. It's got the front and back post. Here has got the bead stitch right there. I think I have it backwards. Of course I do. You know, there is no right or wrong with this side because you turn it every time, so I guess it really doesn't matter, correct? And then the last bead was this pretty little lace here. So it's getting to be a decent size, and I am enjoying it. But I gotta tell you, some of those directions make you go, huh? What? Alright, now let's get to Nan's next knots, the luck of the draw. This is my first one, of course. Let's remind you of my colorways for it. That is the order that they are in. I'm using cream with this one. And here is the next section of the rose. This is just a small lap robe that I'm making. So there is that colorway. And then the next one, of course, is the black is my main color. And here's that section. So it's coming up pretty nice. I'm enjoying it. The Annie's Knit and Crochet Club that I'm doing that afghan with, the crochet one, the edges are not straight, and I've been counting stitches, so I have the same stitches, but they kind of, you know, they do this kind of thing, and drives me nuts. Alright, Nana's Crochet, aka Michelle, has pulled the next stitch for the choice long. I think that's what she's calling it. Now, the next stitch that she had pulled for the crochet along was one that was a V-stitch, which had 2 double crochets, chain 1, 2 double crochets. Now I initially started it like you normally do with the regular V-stitch, and I soon realized that what would happen is your afghan is going to bow, because initially when you do a V-stitch, you are actually using 3 stitches, but you're putting it into 1 stitch, then you skip 2, put into the next. So you couldn't skip 2. In order to keep it balanced, you had to skip 4. So that is what I did here to keep it nice and balanced. And it came out pretty nice. You know, I think it's okay. I'm using that L hook, you know, the 7mm hook. And then, of course, using my off-white for the in between. I'm doing 2 to 3 rows of the off-white, just to give it a little more legroom. That's what I'm going to call it. Now, Judy of Witch Piece Craft has a make-along, and it is the Birthstone make-along. I am also using the 7mm hook with that. and I decided that I was going to do the colors of each month, and I did get caught up. So, and I'm doing different stitches with each one, except the last 2 rows. I did go ahead and just use the Suzette stitch with that, but this is what I have so far. And this is that dark gray, and I chose to use that bead stitch there as well. Now I posted the picture on her Facebook group, and it's looking brown. This is, so who knows. But there's that, and I'm enjoying it. I guess this is the year of the Afghan for me. Who knows? And that is it for WIPs. I don't have any real finished items yet. Of course, it's been a crazy week, and when you're driving 45 minutes one way, 45 minutes to get home each day, it kind of takes a lot out of your crochet time, because, you know, they really frown on you crocheting, knitting while you're driving. Although when I was doing home health and I got stopped at the stoplights, you know, because when you're in Newport News and Virginia Beach and Chesapeake, those sometimes have some long lights, so I could grab my crochet or my knitting and just go, you know. So that is that. And I thought about doing the March bingo, because I haven't done that bingo in quite some time. I decided against it because that keeps me from using up lots of yarn. Now, I will tell you, Pastor Susan had called and asked me today. She said, I saw all the yarn that you brought in. Do you want the Prayer Shawl Ministry to reimburse you? No, ma'am. No. But she said she saw a skein of yarn in there. She really wanted to make a hat with it. She wanted to call and ask me if it was okay to take it and make a hat. I'm like, go for it. And I know the reason she did that, because I was kind of OCD about the yarn for a while there, because I had quite a few totes put in there, and all of a sudden I would have things missing, and I'm not talking about 1 or 2 skeins of yarn. I'm talking about half a tote. One of those big, huge, long totes would come up missing, which was somewhere between $30 and $40 worth of yarn. And I was a little bit concerned about that just coming up missing. So I did find out what was going on with that. It has been taken care of. But I did tell her, don't worry about taking yarn to make hats or whatever. Just go for it. You know, but she was worried because I got concerned. I said it would be okay if it was just like 1 skein missing, 2 here and there, because there are other groups that use the church. But when you have a whole half a tote come up missing, you kind of wonder what is going on. But like I said, I did find out what was going on, and now I'm not so OCD about it, because life's too short these days to worry about such things. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Let me get a drink here, and then I will start with the what intonation. Alright, are you ready for a little what intonation? This next story is pretty interesting. I was like, I don't know about that. New York woman finds empty apartment behind bathroom mirror. A New York woman investigating a hole behind her bathroom mirror went through the proverbial looking glass and made a startling discovery. An entire empty apartment. Samantha Hartsoe, who chronicled her discovery in a series of TikTok videos, said she was investigating the source of cold draft in a Roosevelt Island apartment. She tracked the blowing air to her bathroom mirror. Hartsoe removed the mirror and discovered it was hiding a large square hole into a dark room. Curiosity killed the cat. Curiosity is going to kill me, Hartsoe recalled thinking in an interview with NBC New York. I can't not know what's on the other side of my bathroom. Hartsoe climbed through the opening and discovered the room was part of a 2-story vacant apartment. She said she explored the whole residence, finding only trash bags, an uninstalled toilet, and an empty water bottle. I was kind of expecting there to be somebody, especially with the water bottle being there, she said. Hartsoe said she made sure the door to the unfinished apartment was locked before making her way back to her own residence. She said the front door to the vacant domicile was located elsewhere in the apartment complex from her own home. She said she contacted maintenance to patch the hole in her bathroom, and a representative from the management office is expected to visit her apartment soon to investigate her discovery. And in the videos, you see her carrying a hammer like a weapon, just in case. Now, North Carolina, and I've gone past this bridge. Thomas and I have driven under it several times, going to my son's there in Raleigh. But it's kind of interesting because it does look like the wall is leaning, but it is an optical illusion. New North Carolina transport officials. Flyover bridge wall is not leaning despite the illusion. Officials with the North Carolina Department of Transportation are assuring residents that a wall holding up a new flyover bridge in Raleigh is not leaning, despite an optical illusion that makes it appear so. Some drivers who observed the wall holding up the bridge from Interstate 440 West to Interstate 40 East in Raleigh appears to be slightly leaning. But at North Carolina DOT officials said the appearance is an optical illusion that resulted from the wall being built on a curve. The wall has been inspected several times over the last year. We have found no issues to date. Spokesman Marty Holman told WNCN-TV. The bridge was built last year and opened to vehicles in December. Robert Bullock, the engineer overseeing the I-40 widening project, said officials have heard from drivers concerned about the wall's angle a few times since it opened, but the optical illusion has no effect on the wall's integrity. The first part of the wall, sort of the wings area, the part as you're coming up, the contractor did build it a little straighter. So there is a slight turn some people notice, but other than that, that's what creates the illusion. A visualization of it, why it may seem to lean forward. Interesting. Goodwill worker finds $5,000 left in donated jacket pocket. Employees at a Goodwill store in Texas said it took weeks of searching to find $5,000 cash that was mistakenly left in the pocket of a jacket that was donated to the store. Goodwill Fort Worth officials, that's a mouthful, said a man came into the thrift store chain in Hearst in early February to report that his wife had mistakenly donated an old jacket that had an envelope containing $5,000 cash in the pocket. Rainy day fund? We roughly get donated anywhere from 50 to 200 donations a day. So when the customer had come in, I explained to him we had to go and sort through bag per bag. Store manager Rhonda Davis said in a video posted to YouTube by Goodwill Fort Worth. Davis said workers searched through donations for several days without success. She said the search was slowed when the icy weather forced the location to close for multiple days. Can you imagine? The manager said employee Michaela de la Pena finally found the envelope 3 weeks after the search began. The cash was returned to the customer, and De La Pena was rewarded with a bonus and the Goodwill Medal of Integrity. Thank you, Michaela, for your incredible integrity, Terry Willett, the Goodwill Retail Director of Fort Worth, said while bestowing De La Pena with the medal. And thank you for letting Goodwill stand out, as well as yourself. Now, Michaela is also deaf. So the interpreter is the one that explains things, who's also partially deaf but is able to speak. Don't we all wish we could find this kind of yard sale? Yard sale find turns out to be artifact worth up to $500,000. Talk about your yard sale finds. A small porcelain bowl bought for $35 at a Connecticut yard sale turned out to be a rare 15th century Chinese artifact worth between $300,000 and $500,000, which is about to go up to sale for auction at Sotheby's. The white bowl adorned with... One of my lights just went out. The white bowl adorned with cobalt blue paintings of flowers and other designs is about 6 inches in diameter. An antiques enthusiast came across the piece and thought it could be something special when browsing a yard sale in New York on March 17th. As part of yard sale last year. Sorry, I skipped 2 sentences. The piece, one of only 7 such bowls known to exist in the world, will be up for auction in New York on March 17th as part of Sotheby's auction of important Chinese art. The buyer, who is not being named, paid the $35 asking price and later emailed information and photos asking for an evaluation. The auction house experts on Chinese ceramics and art, Angela McAteer and Hang Yin, get many emails every week, but this was a one-of-a-kind they dream about. It was immediately apparent to both of us that we were looking at something really very, very special. The style of painting, the shape of the bowl, even just the color of blue, is quite characteristic of that early 15th century period of porcelain. They confirmed it was from the 1400s when they were able to look at it in person. There are no scientific tests, only the trained eyes and hands of specialists. The bowl was very smooth to the touch, its glaze was silky, and the color and designs are distinctive of the period. All the characteristics and the hallmarks are there that identify it as a product of the early Ming period. They determined the bowl dates back to the early 1400s during the reign of Yongle, I think that's how you pronounce it, Emperor, the third ruler of the Ming dynasty, and was made for the Yongle court. The Yongle court was also known to have ushered in a new style to the porcelain kilns in the city of Jingdezhen, and the bowl is quintessential Yongle product. The bowl is made in the shape of a lotus bud or chicken heart. Inside it is decorated with a medallion on the bottom, a quatrefoil motif surrounded by flowers. The outside includes 4 blossoms of lotus, peony, chrysanthemum, and pomegranate flowers. There are also intricate patterns on the top of both the inside and outside. There are only 6 other known bowls to exist, most in museums. No others in the U.S. There are 2 at the National Palace Museum in Taipei, Taiwan, 2 at museums in London, and 1 in the National Museum of Iran in Tehran. How the bowl ended up in a Connecticut yard sale remains a mystery. McTeer said it's possible it was passed down through generations of the same family who did not know how unique it was. It's always quite astounding to think that that kind of thing still happens, that these treasures can be discovered. It's always really exciting for us as specialists when something we didn't even know existed here appears. This next story, all I could think of was Dana Carvey as the church lady. Could it be Satan? Man posing as Satan tries to get a date on a Boston subway. The Prince of Darkness is apparently looking for a date on the Boston subway system. Police say a 20-year-old woman approached transit police at the Massachusetts Bay Transportation Authority's Forest Hill Station at about 10:45 p.m. Monday to complain about an encounter with a man dressed all in black, including a mask covering his entire face and his hood drawn tight. The woman told police the man typed something into his phone and extended his arm across to her, displaying a message that said, "I am Satan," then stared at her. The woman said the encounter frightened her, so she pointed out Satan to the police. And so would I. The 22-year-old man told officers he was only flirting and trying to be funny, and said, "I was going to try and get her number." "You didn't get it, did you, buddy?" He was told that his actions were not humorous and was ejected from the station. The woman was escorted by police to her destination. It seems since 2020, things are getting weirder and weirder. Who knew? Alright guys, that's it for today. Everybody have a blessed day, and I will see you again soon. I hope you enjoyed that little snippet of the Scorched Earth Challenge. I was able to empty 3 totes by giving away that yarn. I will be going through the yarn again later next week and coming up with a giveaway that I had planned all along. It's just a few things threw a little detour my way. All right, everybody, stay blessed. Have a great day. And remember, choose kindness, because it goes a long way. All right, bye, guys.